Yes.
Um, Two questions from the group.
Okay.
The first one is when doing the 4-point analysis on the emptiness of the I, we are normally advised to summon up the object of negation of the I when we are very angry. And there's a very strong sense of the I. So the question is, can we, instead of that, can we use the object of negation, a joyful I? That's the first question. Shall I wait for the
Yeah,
answer? There's a second.
I think
Mm.
when you have very joyful experience, and if there is a very strong sense of I in that moment, I think you should be just fine. The main point is to really cultivate a strong sense of I. So when you have strong sense of I, then it's more easy to identify. And so that is the whole purpose. Otherwise, it doesn't matter whether it's when you are angry, whether you are fearful, joyful. A lot of time when you are angry or fearful, there's strong sense of I. But in some cases, when you have strong joy, also it could be also long if you have very strong, too excited, and then there could also be a very strong level of I. So in that case, it should be, yeah.
Thank you, Sheila. The second question. Sorry.
Mm.
Is there a way to give a simple description of the word consciousness without falling into of talking about consciousness as if there's some inherently existing substance there? Because consciousness is the one that is creating the mental labels and doing the mental imputation. So when we start to talk about it, it's easy to get into the mistaken view that there's some kind of essence, self-existing essence in consciousness. So is there a simple way to describe consciousness without getting into that trouble?
Mhm. I have no idea. uh, I think no matter how you describe the consciousness, even you are able to describe in a simple way the consciousness, but still the concept of that consciousness is the subjects. The consciousness, that's something that continue life of the life. And I think that is always something that kind of more doubt or of having an inherent existence will arise. Um, and I think that is also why, even among the different school of thoughts, whether it's between non-Buddhists as well as between some of the Buddhists, where they feel like that consciousness, uh, even the mind-only school, where they are able to refute the existing or external objects as truly existence, uh, but they have hearts of um, to understand that consciousness is actually also devoid of truly existence. Mm. But I don't know. Maybe someone might have the way to describe it that it doesn't become like that. So unfortunately, I don't know how to describe it in a simple way that where you don't fall or where one doesn't have more challenge of. Um, and that is also in meditations, when one of the meditations, like in the 7 point of mind training, um, a section on the meditation on the ultimate bodhicitta at the very beginning. You know, first you meditate, analyze on the objects, and then even the very subject, the awareness itself that is aware of the object being empty or inherently existing, you look in the nature of that awareness itself. And then when you look in the nature of the awareness itself, then as it's a pneumonia, then it will liberate by itself, you know. So that is why when there is a subject that is aware of object, then again we think the subject is something more absolute. But then when you look in the nature of subject itself, then you find it's the same, just like the object itself. Yeah. Yes, please.
Geshe, our group was talking about the four essential points of meditating on emptiness. And so when we look for the I, it's either within the five aggregates or it's not, as you were saying. But as we examine further, usually the teachings are focusing on the physical aggregate, as you were saying, the form aggregate. Can you give us a further example of how you would meditate on searching for the I in terms of the other mental aggregates, for example, the consciousness aggregate? How would we go about this?
Mm-hmm. As I mentioned before, you know, if you try to look in the field, so then can you find in the, when you talk of feeling, there are three kinds of feeling. Can you define in the pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, neutral feelings? Supposedly we say, okay, these neutral feelings or pleasant feeling, whatever feelings you, even that feeling is made of many moments. Whatever feeling it could be, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, is not made of one moment. It's made of many moments of that feelings. So is the first moment of that feeling the I, second moment, the third moment, that part, and that part can, I cannot know how you can count the moment, but there will be hundreds, if not thousands of moments. Is each of them, you know? If each moment is the self, then there will be too many self. There are so many moments. But if each of them is not, if you say just this moment, one of the moment, but again, first you have to say why others moment are not, why this moment is. And even you said some reason, this moment, not other moments, the part of that moment. Even that one moment cannot be the self, that feeling, because that doesn't have the functioning of the self, that one moment. If it's a self, the self should be able to function as a self. And it's a person's. It doesn't have the function, that one moment cannot have the functioning of the person or self. You know, that one moment, just as I mentioned yesterday, one moment, one reel of the pictures doesn't have the functioning of the motion or moving, you know, or within the many parts of the sound that make one sound, each part individually cannot make that sound. It doesn't have functioning of that sound. It cannot make that, it doesn't have that functionings by itself. Same way, when we talk of person, it has certain nature, it has certain functioning as a person, as a self. And that one moment of feeling doesn't have that ability or functions. It is only, even as a feelings, it doesn't have even function as to be able to function even as a feeling with that one moment. And we apply that same to distinguishing mind is the same. Distinguishing mind, the mind that distinguishes different objects. Again, that has many different kind of distinguishing mind or discriminating mind, and even you would come to some kind of conclusion of one particular discriminating mind. Even that discriminating mind is again made of many moments, just like the feeling. Which part or which moment of them is that self? And same thing. And you apply that same to compositional factors mind, which is mostly the rest of the 49 mental factors, you know. apart from feeling and discrimination mind, And then each of those mental factors are also made up of moments, many moments, and which, again, same thing. And then you come to consciousness, same thing. When you talk about the consciousness, we are talking here primary consciousness. Is it the sense consciousness or is it the mental primary consciousness? Even within the mental primary consciousness, there are many different levels of mental consciousness. And even within that, we can say not the gross mental consciousness, not the most subtle consciousness, but the most subtle consciousness that go from one life to another life, carrying the karmic seed. Even that is made of many moments. So again, same like the feeling. Which moment is that the self? And then when you think, you cannot pinpoint, you cannot find. The moment, if you say either, you have to say either all the moments are self, that would mean so many, just like there are so many moments, there will be too many self. Otherwise, you will say the first moment, second moment, third moment, the 15 moment, 100 moment of that. Why is that particular compared to the not first moment, second? There's no reasons. They're all the same. And even we come to one conclusion, this particular moment, again, that can't be self because it doesn't have the functionings of the self, function as the self. If it cannot function as the self, it doesn't have the ability to function as the self, it can't be the self. To be a self or to be any objects, it should be able to function as that objects, And so, therefore, it's not a self. So I think that is how we can apply when it comes to consciousness.
Question for other group.
Yeah.
So there are two parts. One part on emptiness, the other part on bodhicitta.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the emptiness one first. Geshe, for very, very new beginner, their first time listening to this teaching on emptiness, can you advise how they can have a method of analysis, how to approach meditation on wisdom for very new people?
How to approach?
For newcomer who are hearing the teaching for first time, can you guide us on a method of analysis?
Method of analysis. Still, I didn't get exactly.
This is from the Zoom, right? Very first time heard teaching on emptiness.
I think maybe for the first time, maybe explaining simple dependent arisings would be how to introduce emptiness. Maybe how things are empty of independent existence because everything is dependent arisings, and especially from the point of view of the gross level dependent arisings. At least that can be the kind of gateway opening to more ladders, to more, to more subtle dependent arisings. And then,
So the subsequent question will be, can Geshe please explain again, maybe in the synopsis, what are the two group of dependent arising, the gross one and the subtle one?
The gross one is in regard to conditioned phenomena, or sometimes we call conditioned phenomena, impermanent phenomena, that they are dependent on is preceding cause and conditions. So preceding cause and condition means the cause and conditions comes first and the results or the effect come later, Whereas when we talk about depending on each part, they are simultaneous at the same time, We are not talking about something that is preceding, that there is cause condition and then that has transformed into the result. But when we talk about the parts and its wholeness, they are together in terms of cause and conditions for the the effect, the result will manifest, the cause cease, And so that would be the growth, the most growth level of understanding of dependent arising is that how impermanent or conditioned phenomena are depending on its preceding cause and conditions. And then all other phenomena out there are depending on part and its parts for the whole phenomena to exist as that whole phenomena, how it depends on all parts that make that phenomena. So that would be more, little bit more subtle, you can say. And then, yeah, the more subtle we talk about it, how everything is dependent on the mind that impute. And I think that is the where the more difficult part of that.
So what question will be, can give an example of how
Mm-hmm. I think the meditation is same. When you have strong fear, and same with anger, whether you have strong fear and anger, fear of something happened to you or your families or something, the fear driven by something, maybe sometimes there's fear of something might happen to me. And then sometimes it's a fear of something that might happen to my family, friends around us, maybe the world, the planet, whatever different, whatever that different situation, different object can give rise to fear for different peoples at different times. So when there's a fear, there's a fear when, that, there's a sense of I or me, that something might happen to me or something that can happen to my, still when you say something, my friend, my family still is related with me, because of that, that's why they become mine, and that's where the fear rises, And so then in that cases, where is that I, or where is that I that is so fearful of something happened to the oneself, or I, friends, families, colleague, whatever. And with that, then you try to do the same analysis. And then with same analysis, you come to that there is no such I that you feel so strongly before. And then you try to meditate on the empty of such I. And when you are, when you have this awareness that is totally empty of such I, then there is, the fear is less or no fear of that something might be happen to me because there's no such I. And that one I can say, I found helpful, even in my cases, I'm unable to apply all the time, but there are times when I have tried to apply, and immediately it is helpful, Sometimes those emotions comes later because you don't have that awareness all the time. But while you are meditating and in that moment, for a certain period, when you really feel is empty of that self, then you feel there is no one to experience that fear. And then the fear kind of subside or dissolve. But some of those fears doesn't completely go away. Later it comes. But then again, you have to apply that same practice meditation to kind of reduce or subside or that. And because we don't have, when we have that awareness, we can reduce that, but when you don't have that awareness, then it arises. And that is why until we have realization of emptiness, there is temporary solutions. You know, we meditate and it helpful is like, you know, when you have pain, you take the medicine, it goes away for a short time, again it comes, and you take the medicine, and until the problem is cured completely. And that will be to have the awareness all the time. And that means having the realization. When you have realization and emptiness, then you have awareness all the time. You know, it's not just one moment. At the moment, we have that little bit of awareness in that very moment. And even with that small, even though it's not really realizations, but even with that small practice, meditation with that, you can see that it does reduce and subside whatever feeling, whether it's fear, anger, whatever negative feeling you are going. If you are able to really do the meditations with a strong concentration that you really feel it's not there. You know, if you started to feel it's not there, maybe it's there, it's maybe there, then it doesn't lead to that that result. But you are convinced after that meditation that there is no such self, then that can, you know, have such effect. Yeah.
Sevenfold cause and effect.
Yeah. So it's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Very quick one. Okay. Recognizing all sentient beings, your mother. First point. Second point, recollecting and remember the kindness. Point, cultivating the wish to repair the kindness after having recollected and remember the kindness. Fourth point is loving kindness. Fifth one is compassion. Sixth one is special attitude. In Tibetan, it's laksam. It can be translated slightly different, sometimes special attitude, sometimes universal responsibility. I've seen some translators using that. But basically is more strong courageous than compassion, great compassion. In terms of great compassions, you take the responsibility to free all sentient beings from suffering and cause of suffering. Okay. Sometimes there is, according to some, there is the difference between the shareable compassion and great compassions. Okay, you see sometimes we see the practice of four immeasurable, you know, immeasurable joy, loving kindness, compassion, equanimity. So what is different between immeasurable compassion and great compassion? Here we are, in terms of those 7 points, we are talking about the great compassion, which is the very root of the Bodhicitta. And according to some commentaries and teachings, they say immeasurable compassions is that you wish everyone to be free from suffering and cause of sufferings, but you don't necessarily take the responsibility on yourself. Whereas great compassion, not only you wish them to be free from suffering and cause of suffering, You take the responsibility, I will free them from suffering, cause of suffering. So that is more stronger, more courageous, taking on more responsibility. Based on that, then special attitude, the sixth one, is even more stronger determinations, stronger responsibility, more courageous, that I will free all sentient beings from suffering and cause of suffering by myself alone. So there is two differences. I will free them from suffering, and then I will free them from suffering caused by myself alone, without depending on others' help. So that is much more stronger, courageous. Whether if someone is there to help me or not, I will do by myself. So that is what is called special attitude. So that is the sixth one. So those six are the cause. And the seven is the Bodhicitta mind, the result. So that is why it's 7 point of cause and effect. The six are cause. Cause of what? Bodhicitta. And the 7th one is effect or result, the result of those six practice, the Bodhicitta mind. And again, as we already mentioned yesterday, in relation to equalizing self with others, when you develop loving kindness, great compassion, and special attitude, you have incredible, in terms of attitude, you have incredible courage, confidence that I will liberate all sentient beings by myself alone. In terms of courageous, incredible courage, no doubt, incredible, strong, loving kindness, compassion, and very strong, courageous, confidence mind. But the reality is, when you try to help them to liberate from all the suffering and cause of suffering, you understand, with this present state of yourself, unenlightened, in samsara, under the delusion karma, just like rest of sentient beings, then you feel, it's like some who cannot swim, and then someone is being swept away by the river, and even they have so much in terms of love, compassion, concern, they want to jump themselves to save that person. In terms of the mind, compassion, in terms of the determination, in terms of the courageous, but they cannot, because they don't know how to swim themselves, so they cannot help the other person to swim. So that is similar. In terms of the attitude, in terms of the compassion, and the courage is incredible. But in reality, the factor is that just like someone who doesn't know how to swim, we don't know really how to help others to free from samsara or the cause of samsara, because we ourselves are similar, lost, similar like them. And then when you see, because you have so much strong compassion and compassionate attitude and strong determinations and courages, so then how can I really help them to free from suffering and cause of suffering and lead them to ultimate happiness? And when you analyze, then you see only if you can achieve your highest potential fully awakened state. If you can achieve that state, then you can do that without any limitations, with all the skillful means, So you realize only if you can achieve that fully awakened state. When you realize that, driven by that strong motivation to do that, and then you realize if you can do that, then the wish to achieve that enlightenment come very strong and quite easily, naturally. And that mind that aspire, wish to achieve that fully enlightened state, is then, as we talk yesterday, Bodhicitta mind. And again, at the very beginning, such mind arises when you meditate, contemplate, put effort. But when you don't meditate, contemplate, put effort, it doesn't arise. But as you meditate, contemplate, then it arises more often, more and more, not just, and then slowly, slowly, with less effort. Slowly, slowly, even when you are not meditating with the effort, still when you see suffering sentient beings, that bodhicitta mind arises easily. And then slowly, slowly, effortlessly, you have that feeling or that the inspiration day and night. Day and night without any effort, effortlessly. And that is what we call the bodhicitta realizations. And when you develop that effortless mind all the time, that's when you have developed realization of bodhicitta and you become bodhisattva. You become bodhisattva and you enter the first path of the bodhisattva. Yeah, okay.
On we count equanimity, we face with an emotional
Emotional?
threat, danger.
Uh-huh. When we talk about equanimity, also there are a few different practices of equanimity. Okay. The immeasurable equanimity is the aspiration for all other sentient beings to be free from discriminating mind of attachment and anger, and to have equanimity mind. That is immeasurable equanimity. Also, there's a practice of equanimity in relation to eight worldly concerns. That whether you gain wealth or whether you lose wealth, to be able to deal equanimity, in equal way, being so excited, not being so down when you lose something and your mind uplifted. So when you gain something, or being attached to the one and being aversion to the others, and same way, happiness and sufferings, praise and criticisms, fame and reputations, and the opposite of that. So there is that another, that is also practicing equanimity, to be able to accept and embrace all of those, whatever happens, equally, not being so, attached to some and being aversion to some. So that is one. But of course, yesterday we talked about equanimity in relation to as the foundations of the bodhicitta mind. And that one is cultivating equal mind to your enemy, your friends, strangers, or neutral persons. So again, whether you are being threatened by someone or not threatened by someone, if you practice equanimity, it will help to bring your mind more even, more peace. And also it will help to build foundation to be able to feel unbiased love, compassion to all sentient beings, Whether you practice equanimity or not, probably that doesn't change whether someone threatening you or not threatening you. Okay? That doesn't change the reality of that. Most probably not. You know, in some cases, sometimes it could. Because of equanimity, maybe your mind is more calm, peaceful, the way you interact, that could change communication, that could change the energies, could change people's perceptions and things that they were going to take certain action. Maybe they might delay or not take action because the energies change around it, and they might have second view. But also that might not be the case too. You know, they have made their decisions, or they have done whatever threatening or whatever action they take. That is another thing. How you are going to respond to that is another thing. Practicing economy doesn't mean you don't protect yourself. You know. Practicing economy means not protecting yourself if you need to protect yourself or someone else. Practicing patience doesn't mean you don't protect yourself, someone who is in danger. Practicing compassion doesn't mean you don't protect yourself and others. You know, whether it's patience, whether it's compassion, whether it's equanimity, it's training the mind and to be in certain state of mind. While you are in those state of mind, you can take action to protect oneself and others. That doesn't change your emotion, the compassion, the patience, the equanimities. You know, while you protect yourself and others, at the same time, if you have equanimity, your mind will be more tranquility, more peace, calm. While action-wise, you try to protect, take action to protect. But in terms of the mind, your mind will be more tranquility because, you know, you don't see that person as an enemy, you know, and have a strong aversions. While you don't see a strong enemy, a strong aversion, but such person's actions is harmful, you have to take actions. It doesn't matter whether someone is your enemy or not. If the actions is harmful, you have to take actions to protect that. Yeah.
No?
Oh, there's.
Okay, thank you, Geshe, for clarifying the emptiness aspect this morning. Because as I mentioned yesterday, I've always found the topic of the deep rising and the emptiness conflictive and conflicting, because what I think of when I think of emptiness and rising, totally different, but they are related. So when your clarification this morning, yeah, it was very helpful. So from what I see now is emptiness, there is actually two aspects, two sides of it. One would be empty of inherent existence, depend and condition. The other aspect is the one, this is the teachings that I find that teachings always focus on this, the depending arising aspect. And my conflict was actually, I found that I think there's something missing. And that is the second one, which you've mentioned, how it does not exist. I don't see it as how it does not exist. My intuition somehow was that there's something. It's like, to me now, I from what I understand you said this morning, to me, I see it's like it's a illusion and delusion aspect. The first one was the depending arising aspect, the causes and conditions and all that, which is cause and effect and all that. The other aspect, the one that I've always been thinking that is missing, I think, is that the emptiness itself, which is the illusion, delusion, our mental projections, and I think it's mental constructs. I don't know whether I'm right or not. So this is the one that I find that is not being, I don't know, the teachings have not been so much, I don't know, is it emphasized or it's not been taught? Because the concentration, the focus has always been on the dependent arising aspect. So, and then as I contemplated a little bit, then the Heart Sutra, which everybody always says that it's about emptiness and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I suddenly saw that it is, Sutra itself actually is on the emptiness aspect, not the dependent arising aspect, because it says form is emptiness, emptiness is form. So maybe Geshe could maybe elaborate or more on this emptiness aspect itself, not in relation to the depending arising side, but into emptiness itself, how it does not exist or what. Because the Bodhisattva saw it as formlessness, emptiness is not. Emptiness is form, emptiness is no other than form. All that. So there is something there that I know there's something there that we need to understand. Okay, so it's the emptiness aspect itself, not the dependent aspect itself. So if Geshe could prologue, elaborate. Thank you.
Oh, then we need to have 3 more sessions. Home is empty. We already talked about that, the analysis, that there is no inherent existing form. At the very beginning of the Heart of Sutras, where it said all 5 aggregators also empty of inherent existence. And then after that, then it go in individually 5 aggregates. Then form is empty, and emptiness form is that. So when we talk about the form being emptiness, the physical form, then is empty of inherent existence that we already talk about, we discuss about. Emptiness form, that is more dependent arisings. The conventional reality. Empty form is emptiness. Then the ultimate reality of the form. Emptiness form explains the conventional reality of the form. And that is more dependent arising. There could be a few different ways of understanding and explaining, in that emptiness form in one way, because of emptiness, then the form become possible. The able to exist the form. If it's not emptiness, the form wouldn't be able to exist as a form. As Nagarjuna said, emptiness, everything is possible. If it's not emptiness, nothing is possible. And because it's empty, and because it's empty of inherent existence or independent existence, therefore they are dependent arising. The form is dependent arising. Because form is dependent arising, therefore, the form is able to be formed. Because as we mentioned, in terms of physical form, it is a collection of many atoms, sub-atoms, and due to many causes and conditions coming together. All this is possible because of dependent arising. If it's independent, there's no possibility of all those different atoms, sub-atoms coming together due to different conditions, and thereby forming this physical form, developing this form, and this different part of the body, different part of the organ, and slowly, So therefore, form is emptiness. Yeah. form is possible because of emptiness. Emptiness makes the form possible. Without this, there wouldn't be possible of the form. So therefore, emptiness of the form doesn't reject the form, but actually it makes possible of the form. So that explains the conventional nature of the form. And then the other two, form is not other than emptiness, emptiness is not other form, then those two realities, conventional and ultimate reality of form, are not separate, their nature are not separate, they are in the same nature, but different isolation or isolate, different isolate, but it is same. It is the same nature, but if you look from one perspective, it's that, and if you look from another perspective, and that is isolate. If you look from this aspect, you see something, and if you look from this aspect, it looks something, but it is same nature. And so, as we mentioned, it's like this same side of the two different sides of the same coin. If you look from one perspective, you see the tail. If from another, you see the head, but it's still same coin. In the same way, those two nature are no the two reality or two those are same nature, but two isolate, and then that there should be practice in supplementing and supporting each other. So I think that is all I can kind of explain.
Thank you.
at this
That's
point.
our last question. On behalf